I have the pleasure and the honor to present to you today the last philosopher of our evening, and the only living philosopher, actually. The philosopher, writer, teacher, musician, and an artist of life, Delia Steinberg Guzmán. And I would like to begin with a short biography. So Delia was born in 1943 to a family of Jewish immigrants in Buenos Aires, Argentina. She was the first one to be born in Argentina. Her family escaped Nazi Europe. And from a very early age, she was attracted to nature, to the mysteries of life. And her father actually was sort of her first philosophy teacher. She said he used to ask her all kinds of questions about life, about nature, about the universe, about life after death. And he was sort of the window, the first window she had to that world. And at the same time, she was very much attracted from a very young age to music. And she started playing piano, I believe, at the age of 4 or 5. And her youth was sort of filled with those things, the mystery of nature, philosophy, music. And when she was a little bit older, she thought, okay, I want to be a scientist. And she went to the academy and she started studying chemistry. But she said in one of her articles that she felt that her studies in the academy, were very dry. And she tells in one occasion about one of her classes where her teacher was sort of explaining an equation. And she asked the teacher, okay, but where do we have this equation from? And the teacher told her, it doesn't matter where the equation is from. You just need to know the equation. And she said, but I do want to understand, where does it come from? And the teacher got upset and told her in a derisive, kind of a derisive way, you know what, maybe you're in the wrong place. Maybe you shouldn't be here. Maybe you should study philosophy. Now, the teacher didn't mean well, but Delia actually thought it was a good idea. And she understood at that moment that if she's looking for the causes of things, not just the external things, but what the causes are beyond things, maybe philosophy should be a good way to go. In the meantime, she continued to practice piano, and she continued or started to perform professionally. So she started to work as a professional pianist. And while she was saving money to move to the United States, she was planning to move to the United States to study with her piano idol, Vladimir Horowitz, a great musician and pianist. I don't know if you're familiar with him. While she was saving money to move here actually to New York, she heard about New Acropolis from a family member. He told her, you know, there's this place, they study philosophy. I know you're interested in these things. And okay, she said she'll try it out. And she came to New Acropolis in Buenos Aires. And in the first class she got there, she met the person who would be her teacher for the rest of her life, and that is Jorge Angel de Vraga, who was the founder of New Acropolis. New Acropolis was founded in Buenos Aires. And when she got to New Acropolis, she understood she found a place that had answers to these questions that she always had. And she really made that good connection of the soul, of the heart. And she became more and more involved in the school, started to teach, started to volunteer there, until she decided to move to Spain in 1972 to found New Acropolis in Spain. And that was actually one of the first schools of New Acropolis in Europe. And she did very well. The school succeeded a lot in Spain, until 1991, when her teacher, Jorge de Vraga, passed away, and she became the international president of New Acropolis. As the international president, she had the opportunity to travel all around the world, and not just travel as a tourist, but actually to meet many different people from different cultures and different mentalities and different ways of life, and really sort of experience the universality of the human being, to experience that even though we are different in external characteristics, all of us have something in common, right? And we heard that before also with Hypatia and Maya Angelou and Blavatsky. And so she gave conferences all around the world. She taught, she wrote books. And in 2020, she retired as the international president of New Acropolis, but she's still very, very active. She's teaching, she's writing. You can find recent lectures of her online on YouTube. I'll put a link up later on. Some of her books as sort of an example of her interest. So, of course, philosophy for living, in the sense that we heard all throughout the day that philosophy is not just about thinking, it's also about, or mainly about, living the ideas that you have. The idea of heroism in everyday life, that's a very strong motive that appears throughout her teachings. Reading into nature, learning from nature, looking all around us with another set of eyes, not just what we see, but behind what we see. That's another one of her teachings. And also interesting historical phenomena like the Templar Knights, which she saw as an example of idealism in the Middle Ages, knighthood, chivalry. One more important point is the piano competition that she founded about 30 years ago in Spain, which very quickly became an international piano competition named after her today. And this piano competition unites different pianists from all over the world every year, and she is one of the judges in that competition. So for her, this is an opportunity to combine her passion for music, a love for art and music, with what we do in New Acropolis. And this is an interesting point, because at some stage she had to make a choice. She had to make a choice whether she continues her vocation as a pianist, as a professional pianist, continuing to perform as a pianist, or she follows her vocation as a philosopher, because if you are a professional pianist, you can't do a lot more than that. I don't know if any one of you is a professional musician, but as a professional musician, you have to practice hours every day and you travel all the time. So she made that choice. She made the choice to follow her vocation as a philosopher, because she felt that with philosophy, she can touch more souls, more hearts. And more than that, she felt that there is no big difference between philosophy and music. Her teacher, Jorge Angel Ibarra, said once that philosophy is music that is made with the soul. And in all her writings and her teachings, Delia combines this art, this music, with philosophy. And in this sense, we can speak about philosophy as the art of living. So I would like to read a quote from one of her books, The Everyday Hero. To live is a school, the most complete and difficult school of all. Body, feelings, and thoughts are the tools to help us pass this difficult but special stage of learning. Time is the great teacher, and the inner self is the pupil who gathered experience throughout the course of existence. What are we talking about when we're speaking about art? We're speaking about a discipline, a practice, something you do every day in order to get closer to perfection, in order to get closer to creating a masterpiece, right? An artist practices every day to improve. And Delia sees life as an art, as a school, as an art, a challenging art, because every art, if you want to become better at it, it's a challenge, right? It's not something that comes automatically. It's not something that you just sort of pass it on. You need to practice. You need to make an effort. But it is a beautiful art, because art is also, above all, a means to bring beauty into this world. And I think that if you live life as an art, you do bring beauty into this world. I chose to focus on one small aspect of her teachings, literally one small aspect of her teaching, which is the magic of little things, something she repeats a lot in her teachings. And here's another quote. Pay attention to the small things. They have their own language, their own expression. In every little thing, there is great latent hope. Respect the small things hidden in the corners of time and space, because they are the invisible foundation of great things. We usually tend to ignore the small things. We think they're not important. We think they're negligible. But Delia is telling us here, no, they are the most important things, because they are the invisible foundation of great things. We don't need to wait for the great things. We need to start creating them today. And how do we do that? With the small victories. Know how to maintain the small everyday victories. Protect them as if they were the most precious treasures. They are the steps through which we will reach, one by one, to victory. Every day we can celebrate a small victory. What is a small victory? It means that I'm able to do today something I wasn't able to do yesterday, even if it's a small thing. I'm able to overcome a shortcoming. I'm able to develop a strength, a power, a virtue. I'm able to overcome myself for 1 more minute, for 5 more minutes. This is a small victory, and we need to cherish those victories. Because through these victories, we are building a ladder. We're building steps that eventually are going to lead us to, we could say, the great victory, which is the mastery over oneself, or making oneself or one's life into a masterpiece in a way. So philosophy for Delia is the art of living. It's about being more rather than wanting to have more. And she says that anyone can study philosophy, anyone can read a book about philosophy, anyone can go to college to study philosophy. But being a philosopher, being a lover of wisdom, that's something different. That's an attitude, it's an art, right? We can all listen to music, but to make music, that's something else, right? We can all look at a piece in the museum, art piece at the museum, but to paint an art piece, that's already something else. And the approach Delia has to philosophy, and obviously New Acropolis, is that philosophy is an art of living. An art of living that eventually leads to us forming ourselves, mastering ourselves, creating our own masterpieces in our lives. And by doing so, giving an example to others, just like all these beautiful and inspiring women that we saw throughout this day. I think that the greatest gift we can give to others is to be an example for others. And how are we an example to others? By showing that change is possible, that transformation is possible, that being better is possible. Why does one become an artist? They see a beautiful piece that they want to emulate, right? They want to do something similar. In the same way, when people see a good person, they want to become better. And this is the greatness of all the philosophers that we saw today, I think. So thank you for listening. And thank you, Delia, for the inspiration.